That's a pretty good
like
win rate.
the voice sounders.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
The
Please,
sucky
more
thing
people
is
respond.
I can't think of how the song goes, and I've heard it like 10 billion times, but it's just kind of like, why isn't
Well,
it?
the one part's like do 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 do,
Isn't that the old one?
and no, they kind of syncopated a little bit more this time. Mr. Button-O did.
Oh, it's like da 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 da. Da,
No,
da,
you're
da,
butchering it.
da,
No, you're butchering it. No, that's
da,
not.
da, and then you come in with the ah
E-
da 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 da
There you go.
da 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 da
Oh.
da 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 da
Oh, that was so discordant. No, I'm done.
Oh, we're totally leaving that on the front.
I'm
Okay.
editing it, so I bet it doesn't make it there.
Oh, I have a copy too, sir.
Mm.
All right.
Enjoy spending the time fixing that. 'Cause
There's nothing about it.
more
that
work
needs
than
fixed.
it's worth. Yes. Anyway.
I'm just gonna get like 5 minutes of us going back and forth. Crazy,
that would do
ridiculous
well. Mhm.
sounds. Oh my gosh. Hello, everybody, and welcome
Hey.
to episode 175. Wow, this is like a milestone episode.
I know. It's like a multiple of 25.
I know.
Not just 5 or
It's kind
10.
of crazy. Yeah. Welcome to episode 175 of Lords of the Storm, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true Heroes of the Storm. Tonight, we're going to be a bit weird. Things might get a bit wonky, and who knows what kind of issues we're going to have, because while the gizmo's away, the Multi and TBK will play at trying to know how to produce this, but possibly failing horribly because I'm on a completely new setup. And
But it's a new setup thanks to our patrons at patreon.com/Lords of the Storm. So thank you. You have made TBK's new setup possible. However, we are kind of figuring it out still. But that's fine. It's all part of the process.
That's how it works. That's just
Yeah.
that's how these things work. So welcome to the Slightly Irregular show. We're gonna have a really good time. We got a lot of fun discussion topics. But first, let's meet the Zord, because I was too cheap to even bring in the 3-panel. So we don't even have Alpaca Zord Jennington with us.
Oh, Mr. Jennington.
He actually went to Arizona with Greg.
Was it Arizona? I thought it was I thought he was going to like Thailand or somewhere.
Some tropical
Interesting.
place.
Yeah. There you go.
Arizona's
Puerto
tropical,
Vallarta.
right?
Sure. If you bring,
I'm sure there's water there.
yeah, all you need is a bottle of water and just kind of like pour it on your head a little bit. It'll evaporate in 2 seconds, but other than that,
I have
tropical.
I have family there. I know there's sand and stuff.
yeah,
Lots of pools.
Sand is tropical.
Yeah, totally.
Sure. Are they real pools or are those mirages that you see on the horizon?
You know, it was hard to tell because I was dehydrated
Yeah.
at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Checks out.
Yep, it's a thing. But it's just me and Multi tonight, guys. So if you can bear with us for an entire episode, I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun. Multi,
I make no promises. What?
no promises.
Okay, some promises.
Some promises.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
I'll take whatever I can get at this point because we're just floundering. How has your week been?
It's been good, honestly. I have been getting back into a little bit more WoW when I can, when the servers are up, of course. Not to throw any shade Blizzard's way for the way that 8.0 rolled out, because honestly, I mean, I think they've done the best job they can. And
Turns out it's hard to manage a global MMO and update all the servers to a completely new version with dozens of new systems.
Yeah, and redoing all of
Crazy.
the stats in the game and everything. Yeah, no, turns
Crazy.
out a lot of work. But yeah, I mean, the nice thing about it, though, is that whatever happens now is going to smooth out the actual rollout on the 14th. So that's good.
Yes, that is very good. It was actually it wasn't too bad considering how terrible some of the other launches have gone, and they were smart about it because they did it a week early and they didn't release a ton of the new content, just like the new systems.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, they were smart about it. But yeah, talking about that, I have been playing some WoW this week. I'm very much looking forward to this new expansion. I think a lot of us are. I've been playing a lot of Heroes too. I actually, incredibly enough, I started my Team League placements already.
Oh, nice.
Because
like with a full stack.
Three man.
Okay.
I did some 3-mans, and so that was really fun. I'm really pushing myself because here's the deal, Multi. I don't like Hero League, and it's not because of a lot of the Hero League connotations. It's because it's solo, and I just feel like I've gotten to the point in my life where unless I'm playing some like deep single player RPG, I just want to play games with other people because I just have a lot more fun with it. And so I think going off of that, I'm probably going to stick to Team League for the most part this season. But at the same time, I'm probably going to try and play a lot more of it than I did before.
Now, are you actually going to really try? Or is it going to be like grab one guy, grab two, have a 3-stack, have a 5-stack when you can, that sort of thing?
I mean, I'm gonna try and go for like some consistency, even if it's not a 5-stack, because three stack if you haven't played a whole lot of Team League, 3-stack is pretty good because the queue time for 2 people is usually a lot longer than the queue time for 3 people, because it's of course easier to get one person than 2 people.
And you still have 3 people, so you could like still call the shots.
Yeah,
and between the 3 of you, you're coming up with a comp that works. And so
there's voice chat. So I mean, I think that will be a reasonable approximation. And if I try and keep with the same, at least rotating string of people throughout the season, I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I think it could actually help not only practice and skill level, but I think it will be fun to kind of try to, I guess, try hard a little bit, even if it's Team League and not Hero League, even if Team League doesn't quite mean as much as Hero League does ranking wise or whatever. I still think it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be kind of fun to do the more competitive and actual drafting experience.
Yeah, I could be down to join you, honestly, because in the past I've had this weird relationship with Team League where I'm like, okay, if I'm not really taking it seriously and like have a set 5-stack that I'm running with, which honestly I haven't had in a long time, then I kind of have in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, well, why even go through the draft then? Why not just play quick match where I can choose the hero I want and we can all play what we want and get in there and do things? Of course, there's several reasons why not. You don't get the benefits of a draft and you don't get that real practice. And I mean, obviously it's not as competitive and people aren't using the voice chat quite so much and all that. So, I mean, yeah, there's some logic to getting in there, but I've never, or at least in a long time, I haven't really gone that route with it. So, but that's a good point. If I could hop in Team League and not really take it super seriously, I mean, I always try hard within every individual game.
There's a modicum of seriousness that you have.
I'm not gonna main Murky or anything, for the record. But you know what I mean. Like I take every game seriously. It's just that my approach to the mode isn't like, oh, I've got to log X number of games per day so I can be pushing.
Casual hardcore.
Right.
And I think the best example of that was I've got some buddies in a WoW guild, and they are a casual hardcore guild. They only raid 2 nights a week for 2 hours, but they ended up pushing 9 of 11 mythic in that time.
That's pretty good.
Because while they were there, they were focused and they were, quote, hardcore. And so I think you can take the same approach.
That's kind of how your current WoW guild works.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Which is, of course, Blood of the Scribe on Boulder Fist US. Horde, join us.
For the Horde. We don't have our Alliance trader here tonight. So
no.
It's all
and
all
I've got
Horde
my jersey on, so I'm good.
All Horde all the time.
That Frost Wolf is where it belongs, over my heart.
Yep. It's, next week, they're going to wish they had Smokey the Bear, because only he can prevent forest fires.
Yep. Is that next week that it rolls out?
That's next week.
Oh, so they just did the patch.
Yep.
I've only been able to hop on a little bit, so.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to a good old-fashioned campfire. Really big campfire.
Yep.
So, jumping into the show a little bit tonight, we do finally have our Zord name for our latest patron, LDAP, LDAP. And so we're going to do that now. And because I'm not prepared at all for this, we're going to see how this goes.
Welcome to the Zords. You have been deemed worthy of your Zord title. Welcome to the Zord Lords. Is that how it goes? It's something like
close
that.
enough. LDAP Zord. Welcome
There you go.
to the Zord Lords. I really like that Zord title too, actually. It flows
It does.
really well. It really does. So congrats. Welcome. Thank you for your patronage. We appreciate every single one of our patrons. And if you would like to be a patron and get a cool little theme sung for you in a Zord title, we'd be happy to have you too.
I feel like that song just lost us 3 patrons at least. But that's okay.
Maybe
that's
5.
Okay. 5? 5 is
It's
better.
okay. It's worth it. You know, we play by the rules differently.
Yeah, when Gizmo's not here.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
Yep, that's right.
We're unhinged. We could say anything. I could say a curse word. I could do it right now.
It's true, but please
I'm
don't.
probably not going to. No. I feel like you'd be more upset about that than he would if I did. So.
Oh, goodness.
Dang it. Gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it. Okay. Well, with that out of the way, let's get into the news.
I am definitely editing that one out.
Nope.
There's no question.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Not going to happen. So
Nails on a chalkboard. Anyway, so
we have some interesting Heroes news this week. First off, a post in the official Heroes forums by lead hero designer Matt Villers, talking a little bit about some of the support issues that have been kind of going on for a little while. There's a lot of people that feel, especially currently, that supports are not in the best place, especially since the removal of armor, which was, in fact, a big boon to supports just because of the extra healing value, essentially,
right.
that it allowed for each heal for especially the warriors that had the armor.
The base armor, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so like where are we at now? We had the big 5% nerf almost across the board. Malfurion has been incredibly dominant. We have seen a recent Rhaegar buff, but people are kind of wondering what's going on. So I'll kind of run through a little bit of what he talked about, and then we can discuss it a bit. He says there was a period of time where our support design was focused on trying to give each support a very distinct niche so that they'd have clear draft implications. Ultimately, this led to a scenario where supports were very powerful, but all had key weaknesses that you'd want to cover for, perhaps by bringing another complementary support. But at that point, they'd gotten to a point where supports were so strong that there was no drawbacks to bringing 2 of them to cover each other's weaknesses. For the extra healing and utility, and then not really having to give up much damage or wave clear. And
Definitely saw that happen.
Yep. 2 factors converged to make double support a very popular strategy for a period that I'm sure most of you will remember well. The power issue has been addressed, but the changes required to make supports a little less niche are more involved and have been happening over time. It's not that we want to eliminate strengths and weaknesses from our supports, but in many cases they're simply too pointed and need to move to a place where they feel more versatile. And then he says Malfurion's rework is actually a reflection of this, as are the designs you've seen on the supports released within the last year or so. Another goal is to ensure each of the supports has ways to show off the individual skill and don't feel like they're just playing whack-a-mole with health bars.
See, that line, not to cut you off, but
No.
line, when I read it, I was like, oh, like it is in World of Warcraft. And then I started thinking, oh, do I really want to play a healer this next expansion and just whack health bars the whole time?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean that's kind of what it is, right? And in a 5-person team, people want to feel like they are mattering and not just doing the health bar whack-a-mole thing. So playmaking CC is the most obvious form this can take, but it can also be represented in things like skill-based buff and debuff management, making aggressive play feel rewarding, giving large benefits for strategic use of abilities, and planning ahead. There are many possibilities, but the point is we want you to be able to demonstrate your skills as a support. Hashtag bring back self-cast Ancestral.
Was just thinking that.
Yep.
Funny.
Yeah, it seems to fit in that philosophy pretty well.
Yeah.
Supports are a work in progress for us as we plan to continue this forward trend of both releasing new supports that feel interesting and powerful, as well as updating our existing roster so they feel every bit as competitive and satisfying to play. So, they say, and then he goes on to say, they recognize there's still room for improvement. They think overall they're pretty happy with the support heroes, and they feel powerful and impactful in ways that's hard to find outside the Nexus. If you don't enjoy the support role currently, that's totally fair feedback. Keep in mind there are also many people who do. Maybe you just haven't found one that has clicked for you yet.
That was a good point. And then the other point too about like that they're just happy with the role that supports play in the game. I've really always felt that way about this game, at least in comparison to when I played League of Legends, because I was kind of a support main in that game, and it didn't always feel great to just be, buying a gold per 5 item and dropping wards and, peeling when a gank came in and sometimes making good plays with like Sona, I think was her name, and that cord that she threw out. I'm forgetting everything about that game these days. But yeah, so you could do some stuff, but sometimes you just felt like you were just hanging out, collecting gold and helping where you could. But in this one, you truly, like, if you're playing on a healer, maybe honestly Morales is a good example of like you're genuinely trying to manage their health, as well as you have the ability to peel for them, and you have the ability to do some damage reduction and buff them and do a giant group-wide mobility with the medevac and everything, So it's just it is still satisfying to be a support player in this game, even when they're on the weaker side. And I also agree with their direction that they're going here, though, too, with kind of taking away some of the stuff that made them good in like the niche roles, and then just making them a little bit more general. And it's interesting. So they cite the Malfurion rework in this, and really after the Malf rework, he's been just super strong. So it makes me wonder, as they get around to more and more supports like this, reworking them, taking away some of the niche stuff and making it a little bit more general, are they then going to have this just crazy day in the sun where they're just really good? I don't know. I'm sure it's going to be different on a hero by hero basis, but it's possible.
Yeah, and it should be a really interesting thing going forward. And I think it is something to keep in mind, that regardless of strength or weakness, the supports in this game are, for the most part, much more versatile than supports in other MOBA type games.
Yeah.
Just because of the way that Heroes works. I think probably part of the mindset is, for good or bad, that I should be able to do stuff and make plays and whatnot. And a lot of people think of that in terms of big heals or big damage. And that's not necessarily what Blizzard wants to do with supports.
Take again the Morales grenade as an example. Like, if you get the perfect grenade off where you just displace them in just the right way to where, like, you catch someone off guard or just peel for someone that's trying to escape from a gank or something, you've made a huge play. You've either helped cause a kill for your team or prevent one. Yeah. Just with that, that's without even pressing your Q button,
Yeah, and it's a big deal. So I do like the Rhaegar rework. I do like the Malf rework for the most part. I think if this is the direction they keep moving in, I'll be pretty happy about it, because there does have to be some give and take. We don't ever want to get to the scenario again where it's better to bring 2 supports than potentially even another assassin or something, just because they can cover stuff so well.
That's where, like, if they tune down the healing too much, especially with this removal of armor, that could happen there too a little bit, because now I'm in there not to heal as much, Or well, yeah, no supports or two supports just because you need the two to get that healing. You know, they've tuned up maybe Rhaegar's damage or someone, and you get some wave clear back, so you can justify it. I mean, they could, in a weird way, find themselves back in that situation if the healing itself is tuned down too much, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be a super fine balance to walk, and it's
always has been.
Yeah, it always has been, and that partially comes from the way the supports are in this game. So you got the double-edged sword at the same time, but I like the direct, even if they're not all in a good spot right now. I do like the direction they seem to be moving with it.
I like that you can play a healer and feel like a healer, like Malf. I mean, yeah, we even have in the chat now some questions about how strong the roots are. There's some debate on that one for sure. But I mean, just generally speaking, the feel of like, because I play a Resto Druid in WoW now. That's what I'm intending to take into Battle for Azeroth, as long as Gizmo doesn't try it, obviously. Here's what I'll do. I'll just do a better job at it than he does, and we'll be fine.
I mean, he's Alliance, so it's probably not that hard.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't even matter how well he does, because he's still going to lose. Good point. Anyway, but anyway, it does feel like a Resto Druid on Malf. I mean, especially now that you can watch the timers of your hots.
Oh, totally.
And you're putting them on multiple targets and doing things to then pump up the healing from there and timing out your tranquility for the right time and all that. Like, if they can keep that feel and still just make him work within the game, I'm happy. And again, on the flip side, you could make Rhaegar feel totally different and still have that sort of, you just want to feel like you're playing Rhaegar. And I think you do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been having a lot more fun with Rhaegar since the rework. So kudos to them. I still want Self-Cast Ancestral.
Yes.
Moving on. So talking about new systems, and this is something we've been meaning to talk about for a few weeks, but it actually worked out really well this week because there was actually some feedback on it. So recently, Overwatch implemented two fairly big new social features. One being endorsements and the other being their looking for group. So just to kind of give you an overview of what these are, and then kind of why are we talking about Overwatch?
It's relevant.
Game. It is very relevant, or at least could be very relevant. Also,
there are Overwatch heroes in our game, so I feel like we can kind of
that's true
blur the line there a little.
We got some leeway. So endorsements, sportsmanship can be awarded to the guy who complimented your Sweet Diva ult, or the Widowmaker who gave you a tip on your sniper play. Good teammate award, granted to people who switch roles or respond nicely via voice chat. There's a shot caller one. And so there's just basically these little endorsements that you can give people, right? And this is like partially it's feel-goodery. It's like, oh, cool, I got endorsed. Like people think I'm pretty cool. But
in some ways, it's an upvoting system.
Yeah,
kind of like what we have in Heroes, but go on.
If you maintain a high endorsement level, the game will periodically reward you, so you'll get more than the feel-good fuzzies for playing nice and fair. This is where I think the system is really good, and I think people have at least talked about something like this for Heroes as an evolution of our like upvote system, tying more tangible rewards to it than just the, oh, cool, he got upvoted, especially these days when people know it doesn't mean a whole lot. And so at the end of a game, maybe 2 or 3 people will vote somebody.
Yeah, and even then it's just kind of a like, oh, yeah, he did really good damage. I don't know. You're not really... I don't think there's a way to specifically upvote people for being a shot caller in team chat or some of these other things, right? I mean, and maybe that is why you upvoted, but that person may not even know that was the reason why. So that it's actually spelled out and that you're actually working on these endorsements. And I forgive me, I haven't looked super deep into this one on the Overwatch side, just because I've honestly just kind of fallen off the Overwatch scene a little bit, if you can't tell. But yeah, it seemed to me like I know some of the rewards can be better queues, and then also I think that the ratings actually appear in the looking for group feature, or maybe are intended to down the road. Chat, help me out. Surely there's an Overwatch person in there, right?
I mean, it would make sense, right?
But the idea is that
you'd be able to display this.
Yeah. And the thought is you'd be labeled with, oh, I'm a really good shot caller. And so when you post that you're looking for a group, someone's spamming through the whole list and says, oh, yeah, here's a support that's a good shot caller. That's exactly what I need. I've got this team of folks that, don't have the situational awareness that maybe someone like that would, and I really need that exact role. So bam, and then you're in a group. But we haven't even covered the looking for group feature yet either. But
it's true.
Kind of what we're hinting at there.
Yeah, but I think a system like this could be a very natural evolution of what we have, and this is from another Blizzard game, and so as far as I'm concerned, the game should steal the good stuff from each other, just across the board. Like, why not?
And it's all Blizzard internal too,
yeah.
So I'll bet that they could get some hard data from the Overwatch team where they can say, reports are down 15-20%. And actionable reports are down even more than that. And we've got like the just general chatter on the forums and Reddit is down in terms of toxicity, because this is starting to come to fruition. We're starting to see quotes from Jeff Kaplan talking about how they're pleased with the community's efforts to make Overwatch a better place. We'll keep working on iterating these features to make them better, as well as exploring other systems to improve the gameplay environment. So the point is, by all accounts, it's working. And I think it could work in our game too.
I think they said somewhere number-wise, the toxic chat was down like 26% since the system went live. That's a pretty big deal. And so if we could turn this into a hero system where you could give out a certain number of accolades, like, start small with a few different accolades. Maybe you can give one accolade out per game or something like that. And then we get some sort of endorsement level that you can essentially rank up. And there's no obligation to give these out. You give these out if you think people are doing good, but you also give them out knowing that if you do good, people will give them out to you. And then there could be gem rewards attached to that. There could be gold rewards. There could be mounts. There could be portraits.
Mounts would be so cool.
Yeah. And I mean, and I don't think there'd be anything wrong with attaching some pretty cool stuff to a system like this, because every person should aspire to it.
Yeah.
Like every person would have an equal chance of being like a good teammate, a good shot caller, someone who is a good sport.
Except like I can imagine a future in which they only announce a super sweet shot caller mount, right? And then I get in a Hero League game where I'm trying to call the shots, and then two other people are. And we're like, no, I'm the good shot caller. I told us to go to the mercenary camps right then. Vote for me, and then it's going to just turn into an election.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm sure, but that could happen in Overwatch, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Too.
Probably. I'm just joking. It's all.
Don't tear this down.
No. So the fix to that though is if you're gonna tie it to rewards like mounts, which brilliant idea. Just make sure you have all the categories lined up and just announce it, release it all at once, so that people can be like, oh, you know what? I really am not the strongest shot caller, but I'm a very positive guy. I can be the dude that hops on chat and says, yeah, that was a really good play. Good job. And then maybe I'll get up votes for just being positive.
And that's the thing, right? You wouldn't tie specific rewards to specific categories. The rewards should be in a general pool, because you want to encourage all of this. And some people aren't going to be shot callers, and then they shouldn't have to get a bunch of shot caller endorsements to get some specific shot caller mount. We don't want that.
But we would kind of want them to have a shot caller. I don't know. I don't think portrait is the way of going about it. Maybe a way that your name lights up, or I also don't know how they're doing this.
You could show
some way to show
a certain endorsement level or something on your portrait, potentially.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to waste my portrait space with junk like that. I'd want it to be like a way that the name is highlighted, or I don't know, hover over the name and you see, oh, shot caller at whatever percentage, or I don't know.
At the very least, it could be in your profile.
Yeah, but then people have to dig for it.
Well, you can't have it both ways, Balti.
I want all of it. Put it in the profile and on the portrait and on my name and tattoo it on my forehead.
Everything.
And yeah.
No, I think that would be a really good way to go about it. Get some categories, get a general pool of stuff, get an endorsement level, and then you have to maintain it for a certain period of time, and there would be some sort of decay for your endorsement level, so you would have to keep being good to keep your endorsement level high and keep getting those rewards and such. I think it'd be really good.
Yeah. So what else would be really good, though, is the looking for group feature.
Really? Why don't you tell us about it?
It's just that we've kind of been harping on this for some time on this show. I feel like we had a good string of episodes in a row. I think it was back in like December of this past year where this was a hot topic because we had a big discussion on it. People were writing in subsequent episodes and we kept following back on it and that sort of thing. So we still feel the same way, obviously, and it's good to see that a system like this is working well in Overwatch, or that they're exploring it there anyway. But I mean, the idea behind it, and it's not perfect yet. They're still working on perfecting all this kind of thing. But I mean, it's honestly a lot like what you laid out for Heroes some time ago there, TBK. The thought that you could create a dream team and then be really specific on what you're looking for in terms of roles. So say, I mean, again, let's play out that scenario one more time where you're wanting to take Team League somewhat seriously this season.
Sure.
At least enough to get in there and play. And you have two buddies that you do it with. So you're like, oh, well, we really need someone who's a good support. We really need someone that's just kind of a good flex, or maybe an extra tank, someone that can kind of flip between a couple roles there. The thought is behind this looking for group is that you could essentially pull your three in and then queue up for the roles that you need, and also search for the people that you are looking for. Again, I'm not fully up on how it works on the in the Overwatch side, but I mean that's the idea, is that you can actually specifically say you could look for a group. You could say, hey, I'm a really good support. I'm a good shot caller in our example from before, and I have this many times that I want to get on. I'm looking for a team, and you could actually meet people and get that stuff done instead of just going into chat channels or however else you do it these days. So, yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, I feel like a broken record almost at this point about talking again about how much I think this would benefit this game, but again, super helpful.
I did write an entire massive article on this a while ago.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I will still harp on it now, because our looking for group system consists of a tiny little checkbox that gives you, as far as anyone is concerned, totally random people who have also ticked the checkbox.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that like I'll see them come up there and I kind of think about joining them sometimes. Like I'll even see a name on there that I've played with before, like a listener maybe that jumped in a couple games with me or something like that, but I'm still always just hesitant to do it. I don't know what it is. Like I know that they're looking for more
inviting,
people.
Does it?
No, but because they're not specifically looking for me, or for a role that I'm good at or something like that, right? And when I see a totally random one, no, I never click on that. Like I'm in the Cho'Gall channel just because sometimes you need a Cho or a Gall or a healer, right?
It's true.
And yeah, sometimes the groups will come out of that and they'll be like, oh, these people are from the Cho'Gall channel. I'm like, oh, cool. I mean, they're probably playing Cho'Gall, odds are. I don't know. But I never click on those personally.
Yeah, no, I think the looking for group system in Heroes is in desperate need of an overhaul. Like we really need something to come out of it to, at the very least, give some sort of filtering search criteria for
this would be
modes to play, roles to play, ranks near yours, like that type of thing.
This would be a fantastic BlizzCon announcement.
Totally agree.
This in conjunction with other things like a clan or a group guild system of some kind, in conjunction with a few other features like that. I mean, last year's BlizzCon was more about redoing the way the ranked MMR system works, for better or worse on that one so far. But this year, I think, just has to be the social features year.
That would be super nice, because I mean we've talked about this before. I've talked at length about there is a secondary navigation bar, but it only does so much. I've talked at length before about a community tab,
Right.
that has actual community creator submitted stuff, Blizzard curated look, and allowing people to get that kind of content, whether it be teaching, streams, whatever, that can be accessible
still-
inside the client.
I love all that. That's still a little bit different from what I'm talking about. I'm thinking more in the veins of, honestly, like the communities. They're just dropping in World of Warcraft this week.
I mean, that could all be a part of that, though.
Yeah, potentially.
Right? It's all anything social.
Right. It's all
thing.
positive.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I think the game is in need of some social feature revamps / additions, I guess. And I think an expanded looking for group system would be a really good place to start, especially considering how positively both of these things have been received in the Overwatch community.
Yeah. If I could scrap everything we just talked about and just get looking for group, I would do it. Like I would prefer that over guilds, over the endorsements, any of that kind of stuff. I think it's that important. I think it'll be a huge help. And I also think it's coming. Like I know everything comes down to like what level of effort is it on the Heroes team? How many resources can they divert toward these kinds of things based on their release schedule and everything? I gotta think this is on their radar and has been for some time. And I mean, we gotta think it's something that they want. So that leads me to think that it truly is coming sometime. I would like it to be higher on the priority list and not see it in like 2025 or something crazy.
Sure.
Right?
And it is all about priorities, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's one of the sucky things about the free to play genre is that a free to play game has to balance new content for current players, because you have to keep pumping that stuff out because that's how you make money, right? But you have to balance that against the going back and adding social features and quality of life stuff and whatever that might not actually bring in money, but will be healthier for the player base overall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I see a suggestion in the chat. Ralph Snart writes, we need automated messages sent to the enemy telling them how awesome you are at the game. I do deliver those messages when I kill them. Whoa.
That is a really funny thing because there's currently and has been the whole whisper thing where if you have your whispers turned on, someone on the enemy team could message you after the game. Like I had that one time just a few days ago after just like a stomping by the enemy team. And then somebody from the enemy team whispered me just to kind of gloat about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
And I wanted to talk to him back. And then I got the message, this player doesn't have whispers turned on. And it's just like, if they whisper me, I should be able to whisper them back.
Yeah,
Come on.
think. That's crazy.
It's been like that for forever.
Any sort of after game conversations, my Hearthstone friends know, generally not good. 9 times out of 10,
it's true.
Not good.
It's true. Unless
with the enemy team.
Unless they say, hey, are you TBK? And I go, yeah, I'm TBK.
That's the
it's
one
like,
time
cool.
out of 10.
Yep.
Maybe. And that's my problem in Hearthstone. Sometimes I accept them thinking, oh, is there maybe? Because it did happen once where someone was like, oh, hey, man, I listen to Lords of the Storm. And I'm like, oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah. Good game. And it was, but every other one is again, curse words that Gizmo would not want me to say on this show.
Yep.
Because, again, Gizmo's the one that polices these things. Write to him if you've got complaints.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sadly, the congratulatory after game whispers are extremely low. Okay. So with that discussion out of the way, we are doing something we haven't had time to do recently because darn that Heroes team, they just keep pumping out content.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So without further ado, map strategies.
That one, okay.
Okay.
That one we're not only keeping. I think we need to just use it for every time we talk map strategies.
So you're gonna hear that bumper one time a year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But it's coming back. I'm clipping that one as I go through things tonight.
Oh goodness. Okay, so we decided we're gonna take a little bit of time and we're gonna talk about our newest map, Altric Pass. I almost said Altric Valley because
It's a tough one to not trip over. Yeah,
I know it really is. But just if you haven't gotten the chance to play it much, we'll just give a quick overview, and then we'll kind of give a quick strategy of what some tips and tricks we've seen as we've been playing it over the past several weeks that it's been released. So, Altric Pass, big old 3-lane map. Instead of cores, you got generals. Generals are protected by armor that is linked to the keeps. You kill the keeps, you take down 20 of the 60 armor that the general has. Along the way, you got some cool ice bridges. You got some mud pits that slow you. You got an objective that will spawn either at the top of the map or the bottom of the map, where prison camps on the opposite sides will spawn, and you have to protect your prison camp while simultaneously going over to the enemies, channeling on it for a few seconds, and changing it to your color, and then allowing the time to tick through for your person to break out. And the first side's person to break out will then trigger a cavalry charge that will spawn at the general and then go down all 3 lanes. They have a damage aura around them, a damage and speed aura, and they have a little bit of armor to protect them. And so pushing with them makes them become much stronger because they're not super effective by themselves. So that's kind of part of the whole strategy of it. There's just a few merc camps. You got your gnolls that are kind of siegey that you can grab and help push down the lane. And then you got big old frost giants at the top and the bottom lane in the center that you can use to help your push as well. I have not gotten this map near as much as I wanted to because
I haven't either.
I really love this map.
Even now, and I feel like I've said this every week I've been on since it came out, I still just genuinely don't feel like I've played this map enough, or at least enough to make me feel that I've got a complete handle on it. I mean, we've still got a lot of tips for you guys here too, but I think that sentiment's kind of getting around too. I've talked to some other people that feel the same way, and then so there's and we'll link this in the show notes, of course. I don't know if you were planning on it, but whatever, we'll do it. There's a pretty good Math of the Storm article on it as well, where they break down again what a lot of these different features are that we just went over, and then of course some math behind some of it. But then at the end, they even say in the final thoughts, Altric Pass certainly deserves accolades for its art design, but the gameplay will require more experience to pass a better verdict. And I mean, I think that's still kind of true now for me. But again, it's still what I think is nice about this map is that it's bringing in some new-ish mechanics. But at the same time, obviously they didn't go overboard with it. They didn't go full Hanamura on this one, for instance. And it just feels like a Heroes map. Like I don't think you need to play it more than 1 or 2 times to just at least get what you're trying to do generally. It's again in the details and the nuance from there where you can find different strategies that just help you get through the game a little quicker. So, of those, what have you run across, TBK, that really helps people out? Maybe some stuff that you've seen work before and you don't see every game, but have found to be particularly useful.
So first off, I've really found that and they toned it down a bit, but the map still can be a little snowbally, especially if your team gets the first cavalry.
Was that a joke? Wait, was that a joke? Because it's a snow-covered map?
It was a little bit.
Okay, good.
There's just a little bit in there.
That joke's never getting old for me. Sorry, guys.
And so it can be one of those things where because of the strength of the aura of the cavalry, you can potentially split push very powerfully. Even with if you did like 3 and 2 or 2 and 2 and 1 or something like that, and get down several of the forts in the initial go, if the enemy team is not on their toes to watch them. So you have to be very careful to watch that. Good single target damage is incredibly strong on this map because of those objectives, because of those cavalry, to help burn them down faster.
Well, and it helps with the golems and everything. I mean, or the ice giants, rather.
Yep.
So,
one other thing that I have seen a lot of people do is the objective itself can take quite a bit of time, honestly. And because the time take that you need to capture them actually goes up with each subsequent one. And in some ways that helps with the death timers, because that can actually help you have more of a chance to come back and grab that from the enemy, because it takes longer to go down. Because of the way the lanes work, one thing I don't see a lot of people do that probably should be done is there's a lot of like cat and mouse, usually back and forth with those objectives. It's very easy to soak mid and top lane during a lot of the objective phase.
Yeah,
and it's something a lot of people don't do, because it is a very short trip, both to that top lane and that mid lane, or that mid lane and that bottom lane, depending on where the stuff spawns, to make sure you get some soak, especially if you're in a defensive group or you're waiting for somebody to come back, or everyone was a little low, so you had to pull back a little bit. It's good to kind of pop up to the lane a little bit and grab some of that XP, because if you need to be back down in the fight, you can do that pretty quickly.
And that's a good
just
point,
for how long
too.
they run.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because I mean, most of the time when this comes up, there is a pretty good cat and mouse phase that goes on, at least in most of the games I've had, where you're really trying to feel out, okay, so how many are visible on the opposing team, who's missing possibly, that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, there's a chance to get some more soak and maybe even a little bit of pushing. I mean, I don't know how much you want to overextend when, again, the objective is right there, but there's some opportunity for it. I could see some heroes being particularly good at that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a really good point. And it's interesting too, the cat and mouse thing, because if there's any map that you can compare this to, really, it's Battlefield of Eternity, at least in the sense that an objective comes up that everyone needs to address, and it's both objectives are up at the same time. You have to decide as a team whether you're going to attack or defend or split people out, and all these decisions. Again, I mean, it's kind of my favorite type of objective. I'm on the record saying that one as well. But in this one, it is weird, because I feel like in Battlefield, you really can just like all in on offense or all in on defense. But at the very start of this one, again, I'd be interested to hear if your experience or anyone else out there is different. But it really does seem to start off a lot more with that cat and mouse game. And I kind of like it. I kind of like that whole feel. So I guess my tip on that whole thing is I feel so far in my experience that heroes that have an ability to just all of a sudden turn that cat and mouse game in your favor and in a strong way, in particular with abilities that are like big zoning abilities, you can get somewhere there. If you're going back and forth with like the cat and mouse, and then all of a sudden, it's probably not the best example, but think about, say you lead with Diablo's Apocalypse, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this fight's happening now. All right. And if you get enough people in that Apocalypse and you've clumped them up in a certain way and followed up with something else, or I don't know, maybe Mosh Pit was a better example. You get the idea. Like you've suddenly turned this just dipping your toes into just full on diving into the deep end. And often I found that can kind of work out in your favor, because then you're at least dictating when and where that's happening.
Sure. And one of the really interesting things about this map in general that Battlefield of Eternity doesn't have is the PvE aspect to the objective, where those little minions will spawn and they will even recapture if you leave them out.
Yeah, so you can't just leave it alone. Yeah. I really like that too, because honestly, it in Battlefield, some of the situations that don't feel so good are where, like, you've got a half health one, but you can justify just leaving it alone because you need to defend a little while and blah blah blah. And this one can't even justify it.
No, and that kind of goes to my other tip too. That the same goes for the general, because you have to. It's unlike all other maps. This map is such an all-in type map because when you go in for the general, there is no reason to go and attack him unless you think or you can take him down completely. Because if you leave any health on him, he will fully regen. It's not like a core where, oh yeah, this core push, we didn't quite get it, but man, we got that down to 15%. And so the next time we push in, it's just knock out the shields and it's dead quick. No. You can kind of weaken him by pushing harder, getting more keeps down. But in some ways, if you've got a big push going and you're getting toward the tail end of it and either the enemy team is all up or are getting close to all coming back up, it might be better for you to actually look at taking another keep down rather than just trying to kill the general in vain, only to have 1, 2, or all of you die for it and the general just regen.
On the flip side of that, though, so yes, often that'll be the right strategy. But I've also been in situations where, so I've got the enemy team down. Maybe there's a good 20, 30 seconds on their death timers. They all died roughly the same time and that kind of thing. And we've only got one keep down, and the waves are kind of pushed out. And we've got a team that I think can just close it. I have found, and I know Blizzard's been tweaking with the numbers, and they've actually, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they've buffed it to where you can't go all in quite so easily early on and without having taken down enough keeps. But I still, even with those tweaks, I still feel like you can a little bit more than some cores on some other maps.
Well, they actually changed it so they starts with less health and then scales up the health throughout the game.
As the time goes on. Right.
Yeah.
So
but
that's
he'll
the point.
actually end up with more health than he had before late game.
Yeah. But I mean, if you can close that, like if you can finish one of the keeps off, you've taken off some of the armor. I have found that it's not impossible to just go ahead and push if you have the ability to. But my point is, I've been in that situation exactly where people, because they haven't really fully felt out how the generals feel at each like armor level and stage of the game, which would honestly just take a lot more time playing the map. They get a little hesitant. They then go to your strategy of, oh, okay, well, I mean, maybe we could pull it off, but let's just back up, soak a little bit more, maybe hit 20, maybe, go in and take out another keep or two and then push. And sometimes that hesitancy can cost you too. So, I mean, it's again, I do not mean to say that I have felt it out to where I can speak to each level of stage of the game versus how much armor does it have and what comp are we in and that kind of thing. I'm just saying I have felt situations where I truly thought we could have gone in, and maybe I even pinged it. Maybe I'm even like, all right, guys, core. And you call it core even though it's not a core, but you know how that works. And then they just kind of fizzle. Am I too far off base here?
I mean, I don't know. Like it's very, I would say it's very team comp.
It is,
dependent.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you do want that strong burst to be able to get the general down quickly enough, and then you have to decide, okay, are there enough people up that can push us off or kill us while we're trying to do this?
Right.
Because I do feel the general can do a lot more damage to your team than core can, specifically because of that whirlwind.
Right.
The whirlwind is much different because the core will shoot a target and splash around it. So you can actually kind of get around the core and avoid the splash damage, everyone but, one person. Whereas with the general will follow you and whirlwind. And so anywhere you're around hitting him, unless you're out back far enough as ranged, you're going to be getting hit.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm thinking of. Some more ranged heavy comps could have a good chance of bursting him down just for that reason. And then when the enemy team spawns, perhaps the melee and tank just go to divert their attention so that you finish off the last 10%, whatever. There could be something there.
Yeah. It's just it's a very different mindset of ending the game in a lot of ways than
which is fun.
Any other map in Heroes.
And that's why, like, honestly, okay, yes, the World of Warcraft flavor was the one main selling point for me on this one, but the second one was the generals, and that, like, it's a core, but it's not, and I mean it's pulling the flavor from AV again, but also making it work in our game really interestingly. So yeah, I dig it. I keep calling it our game tonight. I don't own the game. It's free to play.
It's everyone's game.
It is everyone's game. You're right.
I mean, everyone. We've paid for it.
That's true. Yeah. That's fine.
I actually went back and calculated how much.
Oh, did you? I don't want to do that because I want to keep my sanity. Mm-hmm.
Yep, you shouldn't.
Yeah. Wasn't planning on it.
It's a number I don't feel comfortable saying.
Okay. Yep. I wasn't going to make it.
It's one of those things. But, I've been playing this game like 4 years. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, I mean, and
totally
like,
worth it.
Also, in this time, you know what else I haven't done is bought a lot of console games. It's just not my thing anymore.
It's true.
I'm not dropping that 60 per title anymore.
Yeah, I found as I got older, I actually haven't bought as much game or as
so
many
we probably
games.
are saving.
Maybe. Or maybe we're spending the exact same amount. Just in different ways.
I don't know. These are the kinds of things I'm telling myself to justify the Mecha Jiraxis in Hearthstone right now.
Exactly. Oh, goodness. But yeah, I think tips and tricks wise, the only other thing that I would point out, Null Camp is very, very strong. They do have very strong push potential. So they are great to grab during or right before an objective starts, so that they kind of start walking through mid-objective while people are kind of occupied, or it's really good to pull people down and make them have to clear those null camps up while objectives are going on.
Because they're strong. I mean, again, if you're not familiar, they're mirroring the Hellbats in this case. Mm-hmm. They've got that deal where they continue to shred armor as they continue to attack. So, I mean, if it's like the one thing where if you leave it alone, it really is going to make a solid push.
Yep. And the other really big thing, and this is kind of true for everything, for all maps, but I wanted to kind of reiterate it here because it is a really good tip. And it has to do with vision. And a lot of people, especially that aren't in the super high up levels, I don't think give vision enough respect. And when I say that, I mean knowledge is power. And so there are so many plays that you can make, specifically in a coordinated team, but to a lesser extent as an individual, with just through vision. If I look at the map and I'm at bot lane and I see 3 of them up top and I see 1 or 2 of them in the middle, I can be more aggressive in bottom lane. I can push harder because I know that I see all the rest of their team on vision. I know exactly where they are. And it's the same kind of thing for rotations, or even for what I was talking about while soaking during the objective plays. Mm-hmm. You don't want your whole team moving away from the objective to soak stuff, or even several members moving up, because as soon as the enemy team sees that 2 or 3 of you are in that middle lane or in that top lane, boom, they go in and they just rail on the 2 people that are left as you're trying to rotate back down to help. Whereas you show 1 person, then you're still in a 5v4 situation, or at least the enemy team doesn't know where 4 of your other players are. And it goes the same way. If it's objective time and you're kind of poking back and forth with a few people, and then all of a sudden, boom, you see one of their team members down on bottom lane trying to either soak or clear up camp, or just clear a lane or something like that. Man, there's your entry. There's your 5v4 right there. Mm-hmm. And so there's so much you can capitalize on in vision, and so much as you're making movements. Simply things like not walking through or by the minion wave as you're rotating lanes. Making sure that you stay off vision so that as you rotate, they don't know where you are. But whereas people that just path, they're going to just be walking through all sorts of vision.
Yeah, just auto path everywhere.
Yeah, and then the enemy team knows exactly where you are. Oh, look, Illidan's coming up. Better just walk back a little bit. Whereas if you'd kind of snaked up a little bit, they have no idea where you are.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, some of these topics you're touching on are also just kind of tied to the general topic of map awareness. And I think, I mean, you hinted at the fact that that newer and lower ranked players don't get as much out of this kind of thing, and that's actually just because in many cases they haven't worked on their map awareness to be paying attention to these kinds of things. And that by that I mean not only that they aren't thinking about the pathing issue and stepping into lanes where you've got vision, but also, I mean, just generally like your awareness of the minimap, tracking the enemy team to be able to make these kind of decisions. And honestly, like when I say this, if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking to yourself, oh, that's kind of me. I mean, I try my best, but I really do miss like rotations and when people are missing in other lanes and that kind of thing. I'm not throwing shade your way by any means. I am saying though that, I mean, that's something you could work on and think about of like, yeah, again, I see all 5 people in the top lane. This happens in games all the time. I don't even know why sometimes. But all 5 are in the top, and I'm the bottom guy. I'm Zagara. I'm amazing at pushing. Yeah, just push now. I mean, that's a really basic example, but that's the kind of stuff you can get out of just general map awareness. And yeah, perfect example in this. So everything you said just ties into the cat and mouse game we were just talking about, because then you're in a situation where, I mean, I guess there's some logic in, depending on your comp and everything. If the objective spawns on the top, and you kind of mentioned this earlier too, where like you have people soak maybe top and mid, but not the bottom, because again, if you're soaking bottom, like again, the Zagara is just sitting there doing her thing. I mean, unless she's taking Nidus Network or something, maybe she's not the best example yet again, but having that information out there of just like, oh, the most people that they could have in range of this objective is 4. We have 5, so we can push for it, and that just little things like that, and the vision and just general map awareness that you need to make those decisions can make, honestly, the difference between winning and losing this map in particular.
Yep.
Any map really, but that situation exactly can be like the game.
Well, and this is even for Hero League, for Team League, but especially for Hero League, even when you're playing this solo, map awareness can help you climb, because then you have the quote inside info on the enemy team. If everyone's missing, don't push out your lane. They could be on you at any time. If you see 3 or 4 people pathing up to something, you can push bottom lane.
Yeah.
Because at most only one other person is going to be there to try and stop you at any sort of quick time. And then you kind of keep an eye on the minimap. I always try and have myself, it's like when they were teaching driver's ed, and they're like, you need to check your rear view mirror every 5-10 seconds or whatever. Mm-hmm. You don't usually, right. But it's the same kind of concept. Give yourself a little glance down to the minimap every 10 seconds, every few seconds, whatever.
It's a good place
just
to
like
start.
A quick little look down, get the scan, see who on the enemy team is showing up, who's not, where your position is.
How about there's a good exercise that we could just throw out there. Do it more than you're comfortable with, just to see, and then like you could kind of sit back and say, oh, you know what? I mean, I've been looking maybe not twice as much, but 1.5 times as much as I did before, and it's made a huge difference. I'm really aware of where the team is and that sort of thing. You can kind of say to yourself, oh, I haven't been watching this as closely as I might have. I say this because I've said that to myself several times. I go through phases where, especially if it's been a little while since I've played necessarily, and not necessarily that, but also energy levels. If I'm tired, I don't have as good of map awareness as I do if I'm like locked in, awake, ready to go. So that all just kind of plays into it.
Yep, it does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, good tips to play by. All right. So, since we got our once a year map strategy section out of the way, it's time to move on to more competitive things. So, without further ado, HGC.
That one, I mean, sure. Yeah, sure. It was short. I liked that it was short.
Yeah. It's,
and I only cringed a little bit instead of a lot. So it's...
You know, I warned people ahead of time.
Yes, you did.
So if people don't like it, then they can tell me. But it's there.
So far, 100% win rate.
100% win rate. So we're good. This week, and as I predicted, thankfully, week 4 of HGC will be on the Raynor Azmodan Braxis Holdout Tweak Triple Band Draft.
Yes.
Patch. Oh boy.
That's going to be fun.
This is going to be nuts.
Yeah. This the triple ban alone is like reason enough to... I honestly, I have to admit, I think I've said this before, but there's many a time in which I just, if I'm watching a VOD, I skip the ban phase. I ain't doing that this week. No way. Because like I want to see how it plays out. I kind of want to just see what the casters and analyst desk have to say about the new process. And again, I mean, this is our chance to see what some of these new crazy comps might be.
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be, and a few of us are going to be gone this part of this weekend.
Yeah.
Because we're celebrating our
all of us, right?
A lot of us. Yep.
Is
Celebrating our friend's bachelor party. Which I know, I guess that's a good excuse.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be awesome.
It's a VOD, some HGC this weekend, but I'm totally doing it.
Forward to it the whole, like for a month. But yeah, sure. It's
totally,
right.
I'm totally going to do it because this is going to be a spicy weekend.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be the triple ban. Braxis game should be a lot more interesting, so that'll be really interesting.
And the reworks. I mean, if we see Raynor and what he can pull to the field there
with the 3 bans, maybe not see Raynor.
Yeah, well, right, exactly.
Yeah, and who knows? No, it's going to be a lot of fun. I will miss watching it live, but of course we will have lots of fun at the bachelor party too. But that'll give us some really fun content to watch when we get back. I really do hope we see at least 1 or 2 Raynor games, 1 or 2 Azmodan games, at least 1 or 2 Braxis games, just to kind of see what the changes look like at the high level.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know, it'll be really interesting to see. What I'm more interested in is the actual hero composition could change up a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying.
Bands.
We could see some crazy stuff. And the teams have to, this entire time, have been prepping for this, have been thinking through, like, okay, if XYZ gets banned, what then do we fall back on, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, I'm sure we're going to see some interesting strategies from them. And, I mean, this opens the window even wider to weird pocket strategies or, like, weird pocket ban strategies where they're, like, deliberately banning 3 supports because they know that the opposing support player is really only strong on those 3 or something. I mean, there's just so many different directions you can go with this, with the 3.
Which might not even be weird going forward because this is permanent. This is not going to be some weird little, you only get this for a week. We are at 6 bans now, so whatever we start seeing, we might start seeing more of a permanence of what maybe used to be weird strategies.
Yeah. But that said, at the very beginning, you could definitely pull out the totally up the sleeve cheese comps, I think.
Oh, it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be wild.
Yeah.
This weekend. I feel like it's going to be wild. Also, in really cool news, the Esports Observed has released, as they do every week, the top esports, like 10 most watched esports channels on Twitch. And for the week of July 2nd through July 8th, Heroes took third place with over
Yeah.
1.1 million hours of esports watched, only beaten by, I believe, CSGO and League of Legends.
Right. But still, I mean,
That's
very
pretty
solid.
dang cool.
Yeah.
Like, we beat out the Overwatch contenders. And this, I don't think there was an Overwatch League game, but we beat out Hearthstone, beat out the Overwatch contenders. Beyond the Summit, I don't know what that is. Someone's
not
going to
sure
get
either.
mad at me for not knowing what that is.
What it is was it's a summit, and then the game takes place beyond it.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that explanation.
The logo appears to be a couple of mountains that are circled. So that's what I got.
Cool.
I don't know. Where's that one game? The one that was it's Fork Knife or something? Wasn't there some game called Fork
Well, this
Knife?
is just esports.
Yeah, okay.
And so they really haven't started much. I think they've only done like one esports seed type tournament.
They've only announced
far.
a giant prize pool, and that's it. Okay, got it.
I hope that's all they ever do.
That'd be great.
It's just like, we're putting $100 million into esports, and then they just never have esports.
And it's done. Yeah.
So that's really cool. Like, it's really cool to see legitimately Heroes is growing.
Yeah.
Heroes esports is growing. And a lot of this, I think, and this was even post drops, because I believe the drops ended on the 3rd of July.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
So this is actually post drops, which is really cool. But that initiative for sure did bring a lot of people into watching the game and watching the esports as well.
right.
And I really hope it's something they bring back, at the very least during the big tournaments like Eastern and Western Clash, Mid-Season
for
Brawl,
sure.
BlizzCon, that type of thing. Because I've heard nothing but good feedback from streamers, and just seeing the numbers from that initiative. It seems like it went really, really well.
Yeah, and I mean Blizzard has the hard numbers on those, I'm sure. So they've got to be able to look at that and say, yeah, this was a success. Let's do it again. So I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah, I agree. In other good news, Japan has been upgraded to a minor region. And this was in Heroes Esports news article coming up. And this was noticed on Reddit by Grolfman JP, and saying, did anyone notice that Japan is actually on the list? And he was saying the other day he saw an article about the state of esports in Japan and the barriers being dropped trended here. Well, more good news. Japanese teams are now allowed to participate in the Horizon Clash and fight against teams from Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau.
Is it Macau?
Macau?
I should know this. I will Google it. You keep going.
Okay, for a spot in the HGC finals. So this is really cool. This is
Yeah.
opening up the Japanese region for minor, the minor region HGC.
So did they
Super
have
cool.
a bunch of barriers to entry? I mean, like were there
Honestly,
laws?
apparently there were. I'm not exactly sure what they were, but that might be interesting to research a little bit for a future show.
You mean you don't
apparently-
have a ton of knowledge on Japanese law? That's a weird thing for you to not know.
I
TVK.
really wish I did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't.
I feel like there's probably some really good jobs in that, so you should just do that.
I probably should.
Forget your whole computer thing. I don't know what you do at work.
I
Something with computers.
Yeah, with computers. You know,
Yeah, I don't know.
it's the thing to do these days.
I guess so. Yeah. But no, this
yeah,
really
it's
is.
really
I don't mean
cool.
to joke too much. This is exciting. Any more expansion to different regions, bringing in different countries, it just makes the whole scene look better. And again, I mean, it just has to be a big deal for the people in those countries. Obviously, now they get a shot to really take a good stab at this, and I can't wait to see what they can bring.
Yep,
Because I know
agree.
Japan is definitely a country that takes their gaming seriously. I from many years as a Pokemon player, and of course Pokemon kind of came out of Japan, but yeah, they're some competitors. Make no mistake.
Oh, yeah. Very, very, very true. And I will mention, and this is kind of an issue, and as far as I know, I haven't seen Blizzard address it yet, because of the new matchmaking changes that have gone in. Some minor regions have seen incredibly insane queues up in the higher end of play. And I assume probably this is partially just the amount of people playing on those region servers. But there's actually a Reddit thread a day or two ago about some I forget what region. It was one of the minor regions that had been queued for 22 hours without playing a game.
Okay.
So just interesting tidbit, because I know even though there's still some issues, it sounds like at least going forward these new rules with the decay and the waiting longer for good matches and stuff like that will be very helpful. But it's potentially bad for minor regions that don't have the population to support that type of thing.
But they've got to be looking into continuing to tweak that for those regions. And in general, I mean, I don't foresee it being such a static system that they can't get in there and make some changes and that sort of thing. So
it might be something they have to make custom rules for certain regions.
Yeah.
And it might not be a blanket thing they're able to do.
Yeah, because if the queue times are getting even a 16th of that long, honestly, I'd say, it's time to get at least one or two people on that, looking into it. By the way, it is Macau as well.
Macau. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. It's good to look these things up. Also, finally, we do have our first few Western Eastern Clash qualifiers after it's been a long day after this week. So with their current 5-0 record, Tempest has qualified for the Eastern Clash in August. Additionally, Team Dignitas and Tempo Storm will be attending the Western Clash in Burbank. So congratulations to those teams being the first qualifiers. Be sure to tune in the next 2 weeks for the final HGC play before the Western and Eastern clashes happen to see who makes it. And speaking of Tempo Storm, one thing that was just confirmed, I believe today, was that Vin, who has been subbing for them, appears to be joining them officially as their new fifth player. So they have their official fifth player, which is probably a nice relief for them to finally know exactly who's gonna be helping.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that yet. I just watched the latest HGC minute with Lana, and they still had the roster, but then they had the sexy Picard in the slot. So yeah, good to see that rando's been filled for sure.
Yep, completely agree. Okay. Now, and I can't think of any catchy thing. I need something. I've been needing something really cool for community content for a long time.
Oh, like a bumper?
Yeah, it's some sort of like da 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 TPK's community content. And
Shout out.
That's not ripped from any sort of old TV show.
No, yeah, you came up with that
totally
right now.
Came up with that off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. It was so far off from anything that you've ever heard that there's no way we could have any copyright infringement problems.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's less than 30 seconds.
Right.
So this is really cool. This is really, really cool. And I'm so excited to share this on the community content shout out that, so the con, we talked a little bit about Con Before the Storm before. It's a really, really awesome pre-BlizzCon fan convention, essentially, that takes place in the Hilton. And they had their Kickstarter, they got funded, but unfortunately this year, some of the costs were higher, and we didn't quite hit the World of Podcasts stretch goal,
right?
Which was super sad to me because I've participated in World of Podcasts the last 2 years, it's
I did it 2 years ago.
You did it 2 years ago. It's such a fun thing because it brings all these shows, all these podcasting personalities from all the different Blizzard games together to do these big round tables, and they're always super fun and super interesting. So it's super exciting to see that they announced this week that they are actually partnering with Medieval Times, the dinner and tournament show, to bring you World of Podcast 2018. Super awesome.
That's a great endorsement just to begin with. I think, and it's because honestly, a lot of the people in some of these communities are good friends with some folks that work at Medieval Times now. I know there actually even was a Lagging Balls episode where they had a couple gentlemen on there, like the Red Knight Solified on there and stuff. So I don't know if that's what helped this out, but I will say this. I mean, shout out to Ro, my co-host on Hearth Casual, because he's kind of behind the scenes working some of the logistics on a lot of this stuff, and he really never gave up. Like, even as the Kickstarter rolled through, we didn't quite hit that goal. He was like, oh, you know what, but there's got to be some way to make this still happen. And it is. So very exciting.
Yes, I'm super, super pumped that is still happening. And because of the sponsor, we'll probably be fighting each other during the panels.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if there's going to be any extra like Medieval Times theming to it.
Or maybe we can all eat turkey legs during the panels.
That'd be for the audio listeners at home.
So down for that.
God, I really like the direction that the Heroes team has been taking.
Oh my gosh, this is delicious.
It's ever since they announced. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. How about we have a show where the theme is we eat during the whole thing?
Yeah, that'll go over well.
Hey, it's happened with hot peppers in the Heroes scene many a time.
Yep.
So
there has been
not impossible.
It's happened casting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Peppers, yeah.
Yep.
I'm not going to do that. I can't do spicy.
No, I can do spicy. I just don't think it would go well.
I can't do it. I just won't.
Yeah.
So secondly, and I really wanted to point this out, especially with the retirement of the 32-bit HOTS client that is coming up very quickly. Mm-hmm. This was a big Reddit thread today, actually. The HOTS team really needs to make an optimization patch. It should be the highest priority right now. It's long overdue. My PC is pretty high end, but even I get constant FPS drops and stuttering during matches, and I know I'm not alone with these issues. It also seems that these problems keep getting worse and worse with every new patch they do. As much as it sucks to put new content on the back burner for a bit, the HOTS team should, in my opinion, really focus their effort on the client for now and optimize it a lot. What are your thoughts on the matter? And so my thoughts on the matter, Mr. I'm _special, are yes, they should. This is something I've actually been having issues for the last few months of these micro stutters during games sometimes, where it will just freeze for a second and then everything will zoom, catch up.
Just enough to. Not enough to drive you crazy, but just enough to miss that skill shot, I've found.
Yeah, or have been moving in a direction, and then you need to not move in that direction, but it's too late and you're dead.
Yeah.
Yep, that's happened before. But it is really interesting because I have what many would consider a pretty high-end computer as far as processor, RAM, video card goes, and it is definitely annoying that those things happen even on high-end hardware with like updated drivers and stuff like that. And I really haven't had a huge problem with it in the past, but I've been having enough of a problem with it, especially in the last few months, that I wanted to call this out because it is a pretty big deal when high-end computers are having issues. And interestingly enough, I found a lot of the pros actually play on the 32-bit client because they find it to be more stable and more consistent performance.
Oh, they avoid some of these issues. Huh.
Yeah. And so with that going away soon, that could potentially be an issue for some of these other people that are having performance issues.
Well, I got to think that with it going away, they're considering these things and hopefully upgrading it for all of us. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't heard that. That's not like an official confirmation or anything, but it would make sense.
I would like to see them address this specifically.
Yeah, yeah.
Because yes, new content is awesome, but and this is something that's kind of been on my mind, not just some performance issues, but AI issues that we've seen within the last few months. I don't know about you or the other listeners out there, but I have had some absolute brain dead bots that will not actually follow you. Like when a player disconnects, that won't follow you, that just do some really, really dumb stuff, like dumber than usual. And it seems like it's only been happening the past few months. And so I'm just, I don't know. It feels like there's just a few performance-related things, and especially some AI-related things that I would like to see get cleaned up sooner rather than later.
It actually comforts me when I hear other people talking about these issues because my computer is not super high-end. It gets the job done. The video card's actually one of the bottom accepted ones for Battle for Azeroth, but it's still on the list, so I'm good. I had to update my driver to even play it, but whatever. And so, but yeah, so when I would stutter like that, my initial gut reaction is, oh gosh, my computer's slipping to that point where I might need to upgrade some things. But no, I mean, if it's happening to people with higher end stuff, it is wrong for me to be comforted by this fact, but I am.
I'm glad you're comforted
Yes.
by all of our suffering.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we've just gotten to a point that I wanted to address it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And please, if you're listening, if you've experienced these things with the AI, if you're having performance issues like the microstutters or other stuff on high-end machines, please let us know. I'd be interested in seeing kind of how widespread these things are. I know, at least specifically for the stuttering and especially for the AI, I've heard quite a few people complaining as of recent about how bad they've been.
This is the kind of thing they constantly work on. I mean, we've seen the AI actually kind of shift over time of like having these periods where they do things like what Wicked Kitten was talking about, where they're spinning in circles and stuff like that, to being a little more intelligent and then slipping again. I mean, it has to have something to do with the just updating, and like you fix one thing and something else breaks. I'm sure it's something in there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just all going to be an ongoing struggle. I remember, honestly, the most disheartening example of something like this was some time ago. You remember that tiny phase where like the lag time between you inputting an ability and it going off was noticeable?
Yes.
And thus you couldn't play like certain heroes that had skill shots in some way. Like, I mean, when something is as major as that, Blizzard's on it. And that, to me, again, I mean, I feel like I've said this all episode, but this also feels like something that Blizzard's already on. It's just a matter of getting it going.
Maybe. I want to see this communicated.
No, yeah, no.
I feel like, and this is something that we haven't really seen a response to yet, and I definitely feel like this is probably something that warrants a response, especially
keeping them honest is good
with the 32-bit client going away.
Yeah. And on anything like this, I mean, if you see a thread popping up on Reddit like this, as 275 people have done on this one, yeah, throw in a comment. Just be like, yeah, this happened to me the other game. It felt really bad. I missed a skill shot, or I stepped forward too far and ended up dying when I shouldn't have. And I mean, yeah, this gets on Blizzard's radar, so do it.
Yep, for sure. Mm-hmm. And then finally, I actually mentioned this after the show last time, but I wanted to bring it up again. Jay Howe's hero map tier list document. He updates it for just about every patch, and it is probably one of the most comprehensive documents you can find on like competitive tier list type stuff and per map tier list, even especially since Psalm stopped updating his heroes library stuff that he used to do. So we'll have the link in the show notes, but I highly recommend you taking a look at it, especially if you're playing Hero League and Team League, to find out what the kind of the landscape looks like. There's builds and everything for Heroes Hearth, and it just is. It's really an incredible piece of work. Like, it is extremely comprehensive. So definitely check that out.
As time goes on, too, I'm falling more and more in love with this kind of stuff. I kind of had a phase where I was like, oh, there's so much data and so many numbers. I don't know if I'd ever have the time to pore over all of it. But it turns out you don't have to like read every line of something like this. Again, I mean, if you have been struggling on a particular map, you could pull up just that one map and get some ideas, And this is also the kind of thing that like you can just have up on a dual screen pretty easily, or on your phone in the restroom, or however you want to review this kind of stuff. And you're getting some just solid information out of it. So it's like this, and then I actually, again, for my Hearthstone people, I just picked up a HS Replay account, and life-changing amount of data on there. So I really am like, I've always appreciated this kind of stuff, but as time goes on, I am becoming all the more appreciative of it. So, and yeah, I mean, this stuff from J-Howe is as good as this kind of information gets in terms of how he's broken it down and keeps it updated. So yeah. Props.
Totally agree. Well, our unbabysitted episode is finally coming to a close. But we had a lot of fun.
We did, and we didn't burn it down.
We didn't burn it down.
Sadly, burning it down may have been more fun.
Yep, but we didn't. But we can burn some trees down next week.
And we will.
Instead. And we will. But before we get out of here, Multi, where can we be reached?
Well, several different places. You can find us on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon. All of that's at Lords of the Storm. Thanks to our patrons, though, at Patreon. You guys help keep the lights on and pay for amazing bumpers like we've had all episode. Also, you can find us in-game by typing /join space LOTS. Or you can join our Discord, which is sticky to the top of our Twitter, or bit.ly/lotsdiscord. You can email us with feedback or questions, lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. Another thing, too, is I'm going to be working on figuring out the World of Warcraft community for us as well, just so that Horde side players can play with TBK and I, and then you Alliance guys can do whatever you want. I don't even care. Also, if you could send us, thank you, if you could help us out with reviews as well, 5-star, that sort of thing. Hugely helpful. I cannot stress it enough. And so in the meantime, you can reach us individually, though. Gizmo, who was not here this week, and thus there was no pushback to that Alliance joke, is feels on good, Twitter. It feels so good, feels man. Good. Oh, let's just do this the rest of the time. He is on Twitter, though, at GizmoZord. He's been streaming a lot more on, actually, our channel, as well as twitch.tv/GizmoZord. So check him out there. I'm on Twitter at Multizord, and also on that other show I alluded to, Hearth Casual, which, again, Ro from Realm Maintenance and I put it together, Brian Black. And so it's an off week, but it's kind of fitting because there's been some card reveals for the Boomsday Project, a couple of videos that came out, but there's going to be a huge card dump next week. And, I mean, we're only a few weeks away from it coming out in general, so the timing of a full episode next week works out pretty well anyway. So, TBK, where can I find you?
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and on twitch.tv/TBKZord, where I never stream because I don't have time.
You can find me there, but you can't.
You can find me hosting somebody else's channel there.
There you go. There is a twitch.tv/Multizord, but I don't really call it out because reasons.
Who knows what's happening there?
Yeah, a lot. It's hop in place.
Hop in place. You can also find me over on Heroes Hearth, where I do content for the HGC, usually interviews, as well as map concepts and some other stuff. I do have some articles coming out pretty soon. Tomorrow, I'm going to be releasing a first in a new series I'm calling Quick Thoughts. And the first one is with Crowan, talking a little bit about the rework Raynor. So if you want to check that out before week 4 starts, when Raynor is actually available, you can do that sometime tomorrow afternoon. And then I'm actually going to be releasing a article version of one of the discussions we had last week on the new player experience. And I'm going to be doing that sometime, I believe next Wednesday is what I'm shooting for. So you can keep that on your radar to check out as well.
Sounds good.
Cool. I have to end the show, don't I? Wow, I just was kind of sitting back. It's like, wow, that's good. We're done. Thanks everyone for joining us. A special thanks to our patron producer Ouroboros Zord for helping support the show. We love you all. You are the best. Go play some heroes.
Do it.
Do it.
Bye.